welcome back to the Hammered Leatherworks studio. Today we're going to be making a set of double shelves from the Harmony range. So this one here in the navy, and here they are in a front-on view. So I'm just going to put that aside. Your shelves are going to come in a box. It protects them from the light until they tone to your home. Our leathers will change slightly as they age and get a little bit darker, as most good quality leathers do. So when you open the box, you'll find a postcard inside directing you to this video, and all the small things envelope, which we'll just open now. So you'll get a needle and thread, and then you'll also get 4 sets of this lovely brass hardware, which is to cover your screws when you mount them. So we don't need those now, so we'll just put them aside. We're going to open up our leather. Here we go. So this is in the new colorway, which is navy. It is a stunning veg tanned leather that is made in South America. A beautiful navy color. So in the kit you'll get 2 long pieces with 3 holes in them, 3 rows of holes, sorry. And they'll have the 2 mounting holes at the top. And then you'll get another 2 straps which are significantly shorter, which have the 2 mounting holes in the top, and then also the 3 rows of holes for stitching. So before we get started actually making this kit, you do need to head off and check out the Stitching 101 video tutorial. We'll briefly cover a few things in this tutorial, but if you need a refresher, go check that one out. It only takes 5-10 minutes at the most. Alrighty, so let's make a little bit of room here. Alrighty, so to get started you're going to need 1 of the long pieces. We put the second long piece aside, and you're going to need 1 of the short pieces. There we go. So you should have 2 pieces of leather in front of you, 1 that's quite long. This is going to form the front piece, as it is 1 piece, and then this one is the back bracket, which is going to sit against the wall and hold the leather into the triangle shape. So the long piece goes on top of the short piece, matching the holes at the top. So as you can see, these ones here, this is the short piece, this is the long piece, and there are the holes there for mounting to the wall. So we're going to make sure that those line up. You're going to take your thread and measure your seam, as in the stitching tutorial, to trim what you need and thread your needle. Now these new shelves are sew your own, so you get great satisfaction from what you're doing, and you also get the really cool adage of being able to say to your friends when they come over and admire your beautiful shelves and what you've styled on them, hey, I made those. So I think the connection between you guys and us is really important. So let's get started. So here we are. We have we're going to start from the second hole in. So we still have our leather layered up. This is the short piece. This is the long piece. The long piece goes on top of the short piece. Okay. So we're coming through the second hole. I will cover this. When you layer the leather, you want to put it so both of the finished milled sides of the leather are facing up, because when your shelves are on the wall, this long piece is going to bend outwards as such, and then your shelf is going to go in here. So the suede side of the short piece will be against the wall, and the suede side of the long piece will be facing inwards as well. So here we go. With both milled sides up, let's start. So we're going to go in the second hole but only through the first layer of leather, and then we're going to leave a nice long tail out the back there. That's for tying at the end. Now we're going to sew across the seam. There we go, we've reached the end. Now we're going to come back the way we came. So there we go, we're back where we started. We have a stitch in every hole. If you turn it over onto the suede side, we have just one stitch missing here at the moment. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up that hole through both the layers, and we're going to put a second stitch in that very first hole all the way through. That's going to help hold the thread to itself and reinforce the start and finish. As you can see, there's our 2 layers, and now we're on the back side and all of our holes have been filled. So we're going to go up the second hole where we started, but only through one layer of the leather. So I'll show you like this. It's where we started. So we're going to pull through, tie a knot, or 2, trim the tails, and tuck them in. There you go. That's one down and more to go. So we're going to go and we're going to sew. If you look at the, so we'll do it this way. So I've separated the 2 pieces of leather. As you can see, this back piece, you can see the stitching hole. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull the long piece that's on top through until we come across their stitching holes as well. And we're going to match the 2 of them up. There we go. And we're going to sew those ones next. So I'm just going to put this down for a second. I'm going to measure my thread again. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. And thread the needle. So matching those holes as we've done here. As we started before, we're going to start coming up the second hole through just the top layer, leaving the tail in the middle there for when we have to tie our knot. And off we go. We've gone all the way across, and now we're going to come back the way we came. There we go, so we're back where we started again. Putting our 2 layers of thread in that hole. Oops. There we go. There's our 2 stitches in the same hole. And then coming back up the hole where we started, through just the 1 layer of leather, There we go. We're going to knot once and then twice. There's those scissors. And trim, tuck, and that's another one done. So now you should be able to see the loop forming for that first shelf. You've stitched the top, you've stitched the middle, and there's your loop your shelf's going to sit in. Now we're going to make the second loop. So as we did before, we're going to find the row of holes on the short back piece, pull the long piece along till we find the same set of holes and line them up. So pop this down, measure our thread, and thread our needle. There we go. And then holding the two rows together, matching up the holes. Same start as we did before, between the layers through just the top leather, leaving a tail in the center. We're going to sew the seam. We've reached the end. We're going to go back the way we came. There we go. So we've reached the end. Every hole has had a stitch in it. You turn it over. We're going to go through that second hole again to add that reinforcing stitch. There we go. There it is. 2 stitches in that second last hole. And as before, we're going to come up through the second hole we started in, between the seams, through just the one layer of leather, and pull it off. And we're going to tie 2 knots. There we go. Trim the threads. Tuck them in. There we go. You have completed the first of 2 double shelf brackets. So we'll put that one aside now, and we're going to do the second. So once again, taking the shorter piece of leather and laying the long piece of leather on top, matching the mounting holes at the top and the row of stitching. So measure your thread again. In fact, you could measure it out for the rest of your seams really, so you've got 3 seams to do. We'll do that. There you go. So we'll thread our needle. And here we go, sewing again. So up the second hole, through just one layer of leather, leaving a tail between the 2 pieces, and off we go. back the way we came. And here we are, back where we started. I'm going to go up that second layer down again to put the double stitch in the last hole for security. There we go. And then up where we started through just one layer of leather, so we come out in the center again where we started. And we're going to do 2 knots, trim, and tuck. There's the top seam done. So we're going to move on to the second seam now. So as we did before, we're going to lay the connected pieces of leather down, and we're going to find the next row of holes, which you can see here. We're going to pull the long piece of leather along until we find the middle set of holes on that one, and then we're going to line the 2 up. Grabbing a piece of thread we trimmed before, we're going to thread our needle. There we go. And we're going to sew the seam. Here we are, so we've finished the row. We're going to put our reinforcing stitch in. Excellent, there it is. And now we're going to finish off by coming up the second last hole where we started between the layers of leather. There we go. We're going to tie our 2 knots. And trim. And tuck. There we go. So there we go. You should have, once again, you should be seeing that loop form now where your shelf is going to go. So just one more seam to go, so I'm going to thread my needle for the last time. There we go. And we're going to pull the leather stripping along till we find the last set of holes on the short piece. Then, as we've done before, pull the long piece of leather up until the 2 sets of holes match. There we go. And we're going to start stitching. So here we go, last set, and then you can mount them.
Here we go.
So there we go, the last seam is complete. We're going to do our double stitch in our second last hole to reinforce the thread and the seam. And once again coming up through just the back piece of leather, oopsies, here we go, through the center, pulling the needle off, tying 2 knots. Going to trim the tails and tuck. And now you should be able to see, I'll just pull it across the screen, you have your 2 loops. So now you've finished your shelves, they're ready for mounting. What's unique about our double shelves is they do take a fixed shelf size. So the depth of your shelf can be 185 millimeters and the thickness needs to be 18 millimeters. This is available in plywood. You can also get it standard off the shelf pine or jarrah from a hardware store. You could also head to one of your big box stores. It is a common shelf size, so you should be able to get something off the shelf that you can just slip in there as well. So thanks for tuning in. We're really glad you've bought a Australian made product, and we'll see you soon.